Professor V. Muralidhar is serving as head, Department of Mathematics, Mohammed Satak College of Arts and Science, Chennai. He has 23 years of teaching experience. He has attended 3 international and 5 national conferences. He was a resource person at the Mohammed Satak Teachers Training College in Chennai in 2012, where he spoke on History of Mathematical Genius Ramanujan. He was elected Academic Counselor, University of Madras during 2003 to 6. He has attended the orientation and refresher courses at the Academic Staff College, University of Madras. He specializes in stochastic modeling and has rich experience in discrete mathematics, operations research, statistical methods, and numerical analysis.
Welcome to UGC lecture series. Today our topic is basic statistics and probability. First we will see the fundamentals of statistics. Statistics is an applied mathematics which has got different applications in industries, factories and almost all the business organizations, and statistics has got different definitions, and let us see some of the few definition. Statistics is defined as aggregate of facts. It can also be defined as numerical representations of data, or we can also define as overall representation of any information, data, etc. Statistics has got wide applications in all the fields like industries, education, agriculture, companies and factories, etc. And we will see fundamentals of statistics. Every new year people recollect and talk about their past statistics for further progress and growth in their own fields by analyzing their past. And in this we have, first we will start with seeing the different types of statistical data. See, data analysis, you have 2 types of data. First one is called primary data, the second one is called secondary data. Primary data is defined as the data which is collected in original, which is generated in large number of surveys conducted mostly by government and also by some of the individuals, institutions and research bodies. And example, you can take data obtained in population census by the Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner, Ministry of Home Affairs, etc. And now we will see how to collect this primary data. What are the different methods of collecting a primary data? First one is direct personal interviews, second indirect oral interviews, third one information from correspondence, and mailed questionnaire method. Questionnaire method you can collect and get directly from the postcards, or you can get from the inland letters, etc. That is called questionnaire method, mailed questionnaire method. And third one is schedules sent through enumerators. So, you can collect the information through other persons. What are the information through you get? Post offices, through EBs, etc. All those things comes under this category. And then we will move to the secondary data. Secondary data is the data collected through other sources. Example, you take the what are the different type of sources that you have. One is published sources, or you can have from the unpublished sources. What is the meaning of published sources? Published sources means the reports and official publications of international bodies like World Bank, International Monetary Fund, Statistical Office of United States, etc. All the reports of committees and commissions appointed by the government, like report of Committee on Corporate Governance, report of RBI Advisory Group, etc. And what are the different published sources? Sources of official publications of local bodies like municipal corporations, district boards, etc. And also you can get publications from autonomous and private institutions like annual reports of joint stock companies, corporations, etc. And then the unpublished sources. The different unpublished sources are: first one, the records maintained by various governments and private offices, and whatever the records maintained by the research institutions and the studies of scholars, all those things comes under the unpublished sources. Next we will move to sampling theory. Sampling theory, we study about the populations and the samples and how you collect the populations, how you assess the population, etc. So, in this, a population is defined as overall collection of any information based on some context. It is applied to the sets, collection of objects, actuals or conceptuals, and mainly to the set of numbers, measurements of observations, etc. And example, population of books, population of nationalized libraries, populations of banks, missionaries, population of steel products, population of wood products, etc. And how you define a sample? A sample is defined as a portion of the population, and here we choose the sample based on the principle that the characteristic of sample and characteristic of population both are same. A sample is defined as portion of population which has the same characteristic as that of the original population. To assess any population, okay, first we assess the portion of the population, and based on that we can assess the quality of your quality or the characteristic of the population. Example, you take the assessment of quality of a particular brand of lights. If you want to check the particular quality, it is enough to check 1 or 2 samples of the bulb, that will give you the overall quality of the product. Then we have different types of collection of sample. First one is a random sample, second one is non-random sample. When I say random sample, we choose a sample based upon the random order, and here we choose this from 2 kinds of population. One is finite population, the other one is secondary population. In the finite population, you have got a finite size, usually we represent by capital N, and small n we denote for the size of the sample, and here we collect the set of observations x1, x2, x3, etc., xn, which constitute a random sample of size small n from a finite population of size capital N. Here we choose the sample so that each subset n of capital N elements of the population has the same probability of being selected. That means, you are giving equal priority to choosing the sample. And how you choose random sample from an infinite population? You take a set of observations x1, x2, x3, etc., xn, which constitute a random sample of size small n from an infinite population f of x, if it satisfies the following 2 conditions. First one, for every value of x, okay, it is defined as the value of random variable whose distribution is given by the corresponding function f of x, n random variables which are independent. And then we will move to the components of a population. There are 2 kinds of measurements which we call them as parameter and a statistic. A parameter is defined as a statistical measure which we choose from the population, whereas a statistic is statistical measurement which we choose from the sample. Example, you can choose the population mean, population standard deviation, population proportion of defectives, all these things comes under the parameter. Whereas, in the case of example for statistic, we can choose sample mean, sample proportion of defective, sample standard deviation, etc. And then we have different types of classification of statistical data. Statistical data are classified according to 4 different types. First one is you can classify according to quantitative data, or example you can choose according to age, you can choose according to weight, etc. Next, second one is qualitative data, and qualitative data we choose based upon the merit. So, in general, if we take any data which we wanted to condense it, you can condense in such a way that it based upon some similar or dissimilar characteristic, and to facilitate the comparison you have to pinpoint out the most significant features of the data at a glance, and this can be done by using the classification principle. And here, as I said, you have 2 types of classification. First one is quantitative data, second one is qualitative data. Data can be classified according to magnitude, which we term it as quantitative data. Example, you choose or collect the data with respect to height, weight, wages, financial status of people, etc. Example, you can just have a glance of this example which gives the quantitative data, that is the students of an institution which may be classified according to their age. So, you have 2 columns, first one is weight is given in terms of pounds, and second column is the number of students. So, this data is quantitative data, where we have the choice of number of students with respect to their age. Second one is another example where we have the distribution of students according to professional courses. So, we have got a science stream, commerce stream and faculties, and for each course how many candidates are there. So, this information is given as a quantitative data, and the next one is qualitative data. As I said, data you collect based upon some attributes or like a non measurable quantity. Example, you can take a poverty, you can take a skill, merit, all this religion, sex, literacy, color, etc. And here the fact is that the attribute is a non measurable, we can find whether it is present or absent in the units of population under the study. Example for qualitative data, you can see the following, which gives the population which is divided according to sex, literacy and then age, employment, etc. So, you can see this where you have population divided to literates, illiterates and illiterates, and employed and unemployed under each category, and then male and females, etc. So, for each male and female we are given the data according to the sex, according to employment, unemployment, etc. And the next one we will go to nominal data. See here nominal data we define as the data which is collected according to the categorically discrete data or name of the institution or types of steel products or name of the book, etc. All these things comes under the nominal data. And here in this data we have got ordinal data. See in the case of ordinal data, it is defined as the data where the quantities have a natural ordering. For example, the ranking of favorite sports, or you can take the order of the peoples in the workplace in a line, or the order of a runners finishing in a race, or more often you can also have the choice of rating scale from 1 to 5, which you might have already seen. So, in the case of ordinal data, you cannot state whether the certainty that the intervals between each value are equal. So, we call such a data as an ordinal data. So, whenever you take ordinal data, you must know how to classify that according to ordinality, that is the natural ordering. The next one we will move to what is called ordinal data's example. We have seen the different modes. In this case, we have to see what is the different type of scalings that we have. If we take a 10-point scale, the difference between the 9 and 10 is not necessarily same as the difference between 6 and 7 point, because this is because of the ordering. So, here you can easily see that one can remember ordinality sounds like order. So, we call this as ordinal data. So, the next one we have what is called time series data. In the time series data, we have got the classification of data according to chronological order or according to period. See, most of the economists or the businessman, they make estimates for the future. For example, a businessman is interested in finding out his likely sales in future and very near or a long term planning in 2020, so that he could adjust his production accordingly, avoid the possibility of either unsold stocks or you can say inadequate data. So, whenever you have data classified according to period, then we call that as time series data. So, here we take data observed or recorded at successive intervals of time, we call that one as time series data. In other words, when quantitative data are arranged in the order of their occurrence, the resulting statistical series data is called a time series. So, let us go for a short break. So, we welcome back to our data analysis, and here we have seen time series data. So, we have seen how a time series is defined, where we classify data according to period. We will see an example for time series. So, in the following data, we have the figures of sales of refrigerators and of a firm in 1000 units. So, you have got two columns. first column denotes the year and second column denotes the sales of the firm in thousands. So, in 2001 we have got 50,000 sales, 2002 52 sales. So, like that this gives a data of time series. What are the basic principles of time series? So, here this time series helps us in understanding the past behavior. It helps in planning future operations. It helps in evaluating current accomplishments. It facilitates in the comparison. We can compare the period and get the information through that. And then if you have a discrete data, how we define that one? Discrete data is the statistical data which are given in terms of discrete characteristic, which are given in terms of discrete set of values. We call that as a discrete data, and here whenever you have a discrete data, how you are going to have the corresponding type. So, here we got the data classified according to simple discrete series. So, here for example, if we take a data, first one, in a survey of 10 families in a village, the number of children per family is given as follows. So, out of 10 families he has given the number of children in each family. So, this is a simple discrete data. Second one, you take the letters in each word given below. There was a statement, that is, today our culture has gone to high extent of statistical culture. So, this is given in the form of alphabets, where we choose the data is collection of letters. So, T, O, D, A, Y, U, etc. up to L, X, F, and repetitions are not allowed here. The next one, we will move to practical problems. See, you can go through the following problems which you can try. Give the names of employees of your company. So, this data you can give as a discrete data. Similarly, list the best MNC companies in Chennai. So, this is another example for your practical problem, discrete data which you can do. The next one will move to continuous data. A continuous data is defined as a statistical data which is classified according to the class intervals, then we call that as a continuous data. The next one, the example of a continuous data. See, the following data gives the data of wages of 200 workers of a factory. So, you have got two columns. First one column denotes the salary slabs which is given in the form of class intervals, and second column is the number of workers. So, he has given 20 workers whose wages lies between 0 to 2000. You have got 60 workers whose wages lies between 2000 to 4000, etc. So, this is a simple continuous data where we have got a continuous series. The next one is you got two types of class intervals. First one is you have got a inclusive method. Inclusive method means this is a type of class interval where there was a break. For example, in the following data you have got a class interval where if you take a two class interval, first one is called lower limit, the second one is called upper limit. In the second class interval also, first one is lower limit, second one is upper limit. If you see the class interval, the second upper limit and the lower limit of the next class, you have got a difference. That difference is 1, then we divide the difference by 2, we get 0.5. So, that this inclusive method can be classified into exclusive method where there will not be break of class interval like this. For example, in the following example, you can see a data where there is no break. See, in this data you have got upper limit of one class where it is the lower limit of the next class. Example 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60. So, there is no break between the class interval. So, this is classified as exclusive class interval. The next one, we have got a class interval where we represent the data by using the tabulation form. In this class of data, we have both the discrete as well as continuous data. See, whenever you are given a table, how you are going to present the data. For example, you have got a tabulation, any information you can give in the form of a table, and before forming the table, you must know what are the basic presentation of a table. A tabulation is defined as the process which makes a huge mass of data in detailed orderly manner within a minimum space of time. For example, and what are the basic significance? It simplifies the complex data, it facilitates for the comparison, it gives identity to the data. It reveals the pattern of the data. These are some of the fundamental principle of your tabulation, and before forming a table you must know what are the different parts of a table. So, a table number, for every table you have a table number where each table number should be numbered. So, it should be either at the center or you can give at the bottom or you can give at the top. And second one is you have got a title of the table. For any table, title is a essential one. It describes the contents of the table, which should be clear, brief and self explanatory. And next one, what precisely are the data in the table, all those things should be clearly given, and you should also see where the data has occurred, when the data has occurred, etc. The next one, you have got parts of a table. A table is divided into different parts. First one is caption, second one is called stub, third one is body of the table, fourth one is head note of the table, fifth one is going to be footnote of the table, and you have got different types of different examples for representing these parts of the table. First of all, what is the meaning of caption? A column heading, it explains what the column represents, that is called caption. Stub means the designation of row headings. Body means it contains numerical information, and this is the most vital part of the table. Second thing is head note. See, head note of a table, it briefly explains the statement applying to all or a major part of the material in the table. And for example, you can see units of measurements, which is frequently written as head note. Example, you can write amount in terms of thousands or you can write in terms of crores. So, the next one, it is a footnote. Footnote means to point out any exception as to the basic of arriving of the data. Any heterogeneity in the data recorded must be disclosed to avoid wrong conclusions. Any special circumstances which is affecting the data, that can be given. Example, fire or lockout or strike, etc. All these things you can give as a footnote. Next one, to give the source in the case of secondary data, you can represent in the form of a footnote. To clarify anything in the table, you can give in the form of a footnote. Example for any table formation. See, this is the general form of a table where we have got a title and a head note of the table, and then under each one, second category, you have got a stub heading, and then you have got a caption heading, and then column heading, and the third one you have got a stub entries on the left side. On the right side you got body of the table, and left side you got the fourth column, you have footnotes, and the last one you got table number on the right bottom. So, these are the different formation of a given table. And the next one, the basic principles of a table, how you form a table. So, here we have some basic good requisites of a table. First of all, the table should suit the size of the paper. First, you have to see the size of the paper where we have more number of rows than number of columns. So, that will give you an ideal table. A table must have a title. Next, in all the tables, captions and stubs should be arranged in some systematic order. The next one, what is called the systematic order. What is the meaning of systematic order? Here systematic order means you have to see the type of method that you use in ordering the table. Here according to alphabets, you can also arrange according to time, or you can arrange according to countries, or according to cities, or conventional. You can also arrange according to size or numerical importance of the items, and then point of measurement should be given like income in rupees. So, whenever you say income, you have to write in rupees within bracket. Then weight you have to give in terms of pounds, and then kilograms you can give for the representing any weights. So, the next one, the figures, how you represent the figures. Whatever the figures you give in the table, it should be rounded off. You have to give as a integral value to avoid the unnecessary details, in the table, and also footnote to this effect must be given. The tables should not be overloaded with details. The information is short and it should be very short informative, and the arrangement should be logical and items related to each other should be placed near about and if possible in the same group. You should not show by the different representation. The next one is, whenever you got percentages and ratios, you can represent that in the table, and it should be computed and worked out and shown. And then abbreviations, whatever you have, it should be avoided in the titles and headings, and title headings you have to write in full form. You should not write like YR for the year like that. So, this is not correct representation. You should write as YEAR, and do not use ditto marks in the table. As far as possible, you have to write all the values in the table. If a figure is repeated, show it each time, but do not write in the ditto marks. Now, we have seen the different forms of a table, and now we are going to have what is called the different modes of representation of a table. See, here in this table we have got what is called types of table. You have two types. First one is called simple table and second one is called complex table. When I say simple table, it means you have got the table which has got with respect to one characteristic. You do not have more than one characteristic. It can also be called as one way table. Example, you consider the following data, where you have the data consisting of employees and in a bank according to their age group. For example, you can see the following data. See, in this data you have got a simple data where you have number of age given in years and number of employees given on the second column. So, age is given in the form of class intervals. If you take below 25 age, there are 10 employees. If you take 25 to 35 age, there are 15 employees, etc. Above 55 age, you have 20 employees. So, this data gives 100 employees which are classified according to their age. So, this is an example for a simple table. The next one, we will move to what is called a complex table. See, in the case of complex table, you have got more than one representation, more than one characteristic. For example, you have characteristic following data gives the two or more characteristics. So, we classify the data according to two or more characteristic. Here you got employees classified with respect to males and females, and you have first column representing the age in class interval, second, third column represents the number of employees in this category of males and females, and the last column denotes the total of the number of males and females. The next one, the summarization of what we have done today, and we have seen different parts of table and how a table is formed and what are the different requisites of a good table, and then we have seen different types of table like simple table and a complex table, and then we have seen example for simple table and complex table. So, now let us take some of the questions which you can try for the further process. First one, you give the tabulation for the following data. See, this data gives the age, this data gives age and then employees and their salary and then total. So, you can represent this data in the form of a table. So, age you have got between 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, and the number of employees 15, 20 and 15, and salary you can take between 2500, 3000 and 5000, and you have to give the total for each of the category, give total for each of the category. This is one problem which you can try and give the solution. Thank you.